2023. We have a first and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That passes. Okay. Yes. Ernie second both times. We'll move right on. Philip, I believe you're up.
Before you this morning is a draft version of the request for qualifications for 935 Sonoy Road, AKA the old fire station. There are a couple of main parts of the RFQ. A lot of it's just stuff that Ellie's gonna have to go over for legal review and stuff. Right. Again, draft. But the kind of big items that kind of wanted to focus on, if you start on page 10 of your packet, which is page 4 of the RFQ, we have the introduction that's just outlining the project, what we want to accomplish. I don't have it for the screen, I'm sorry. I can pull it up though. Turn it on. This is the introduction of the RFQ. It just outlines the project scope, what we're trying to do, outlines the schedule, which is to be determined until we get it approved and start on all that. But those are all the steps that we'll have to go through. We'll have to go through the advertisement of the actual RFQ, questions for them to submit, deadline for that, deadline for addenda, if any, RFQ submissions, notification of shortlist, depending on how many we have. And then we may have applicant interviews amongst the entirety of the DDA. And to select, and we'll have the meeting where we select. And then everything goes from there. So we execute the contract and we start the actual work. So that's the overall schedule and the introduction. Moving on. So scope of work, there were a couple of main items here that we went through. There were 6 kind of main items for the scope of work. It pertained to utilizing the town's plans, providing an aesthetic that incorporates architectural elements that are good for that are compatible with the overlay district. Talks about having a preference for adequate outdoor spaces, courtyards, terraces with scenic views to Shamrock Park in the rear, if we can accomplish that. That's part of the scenic nature of those views is some of the town's work of kind of maybe clearing the old pole. Being able to utilize and leverage that rear portion of the building. And that we would be leasing the building. So it's just a stipulation that it would be a lease agreement. Talked about on-site parking, that there's a preference actually not to do a whole lot of on-site parking since the town's gonna be providing most of that. If there's an incorporation, of course, of handicap spaces, loading, unloading spaces, things of that nature, that's kind of how we would use it. But we want to try and leverage as much of the property for outdoor space as possible. And then just in terms of the actual building itself, preference for extensive natural lighting. Easy with the roll-up doors if they make those glass. And then we get into the project criteria. So I know we talked about different criteria. I want to make sure that these are consistent with your vision. Experience, financial stability, the concept itself, project methodology, and community involvement. So those are the project criteria. They go into the evaluation and response to those criteria. So each one of those has a weight. Experience, concept, financial stability, project methodology, community involvement, and then other is just kind of gives us some ability to, you know.
Couple clarifications on the financial stability when they're contributing $100 grand or whatever. Is that held as a CD liquidity, or
We
is
would
it, do we
probably
use it to do the improvements?
That would probably be cash and escrow. So that would be the nature of that
Do we
money
get credit for that as far as
from the financial
grant
stability
or-
perspective. Oh, you mean for the grant? Yes. So that money is going to be, especially when we go after the Department of Community Affairs loan, that money is going to be necessary to show that we actually need that DCA loan for gap financing because we've been able to secure basically this money from the applicant or from the party that's going to be the development partner. We've shown that we got the other loans from different sources like the FCDA and from the Georgia Cities Foundation. So that money we would put off to the side for that purpose. We would, of course, probably not ask, we wouldn't just say, okay, here, we partnered with you. We haven't secured any funding. We're going to start spending your money.
Right.
It's gonna be something that we start to utilize after we've secured all of our other financing mechanisms. But we would ask that be cash and escrow, most likely.
and that can that be used debt or credit, or how would that?
So that would be probably used during the development of the site. Once we got started with that actual development, we would it could probably be used for different things that are specific to the assets that they'll need, like cooking equipment, vent hoods, things. So we'll kind of see where that falls in.
But it won't be part of their rent or their lease or whatever.
I
don't think it should.
That's over and above.
yeah. I mean, it's up to you guys, but I mean, typically, I don't think we would be.
I think it needs to be their equity in the deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily meant to serve as a credit
Right.
towards their future
Very good.
payments.
And
But-
that's what I was getting at. It's like, while we're doing constructions, can they start paying some of our loans back?
Right, yeah. I mean, yes, I think once we've secured some of our, or we've secured at least a majority of our financing, I think that might be appropriate to have that discussion. That would be something that we start to work out too. Because, upon choosing a development partner, we will start to then draft language for that partnership and what that looks like very specifically, a development agreement. That this is not the development agreement. So that would be part of that. Have your financing secured yet? Have to be sort of out for. Terms are gonna be
And if I can make a comment, in the restaurant business, it's very unusual for whoever's the lessee, for them to start paying rent before the building's completed. I've never seen a case, you know, it's always. Right.
Might be interest only.
Yeah, and given the relationship here, again, it's an economic development opportunity. We might even allow them to operate for like a month or two without a rent payment. But that money, you know, some of that cash in escrow might be paid from the on the development side, not from a leasing perspective, but just as we're going through the construction. So yeah. I did want to just make sure, I mean, the rest of the document is all kind of just technicalities on how they're supposed to submit terms and conditions, things like that. But the real meat is between the project criteria and the evaluation and response. I just want to make sure that these criteria meet your expectations of what you wanted to judge applicants by, and that the weight of each of those criteria seems appropriate. I kind of just put in some placeholder numbers that seemed roughly appropriate, but you may have higher priorities or lesser priorities for some of these criteria. So I just wanted to make sure that we reflected that. And then you can kind of go back to the description of each of these if you want to.
Well, being that this is the first time for all of us, and I believe for all of you as well, we're kind of have to take baby steps here and depend on people like Ally and whatever other experience we have here on the, as committee members to figure out what shouldn't be on there.
Okay.
As far as just went the property lines,
Yes.
did we cut off the back half to give to the city when we were granted it?
We
or
didn't cut it off.
Just easement?
Yeah, it's just easement currently. So that area, this area here, basically starting about here, it's a 50-foot easement just right in here for multi-use path and for sewer. It might be in the DDA's best interest for us to look at actually just giving that to the town so that it's not a maintenance responsibility, or because it's not a really utilitarian piece of the development puzzle. So that's something to be discussed, but
How does
we
that
would of course
work?
want to do that before we enter into an
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah,
with the
exactly.
How does that work with the other properties that align along there, you know, with She-Craft and the post office and the Shamrock Kitchen and so on?
Yeah, so if we take a look at the parcel map showing those areas. Taking a look, essentially what would happen is that this portion would just become part of Shamrock Park. Back portion of the property, and it would just be consolidated into
Mhm.
or to the town's property.
So that area behind the post office, Shamrock Kitchen, that,
Yes,
let's see.
small property here.
Yes, where you've got it marked in blue. So is that part of the town at this point, or
That's
that
currently
belongs to the particular people
That's
that?
currently a private owner. It's the same owner, it actually is the same owner as the old Shamrock Kitchen. So, you know, the town's proposal for path access would be to property. for
Okay.
that. It really, its only existence, practical existence was for septic for that property. But, you know, we would be working with that owner on acquiring.
Okay.
So are you proposing where the cars are now, where the fire station is would that have parking or access?
In terms of this
No, it's where the
at the
pole
fire
barn is.
Where the
No,
pole
no,
barn is?
no, where
No, the 3 cars
the
behind
three
the
cars
fire.
behind the fire station.
Oh,
Okay.
Is that kind of where you're thinking the parking?
Yeah, that would probably be a loading and unloading zone.
Would you want us to take a vote on approving what you've got written here at this point?
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to take a vote on that. We can, really just kind of feedback on, any of these criteria and the weights. But if we need time to get that feedback, we can do that too. So,
Anybody?
if
Is it
that's,
published? Is that what we do?
we will publish it. It's not published.
How long do
currently.
they have to respond?
We would typically do 30 days minimum,
Set up
similar to
interviews?
an RFP, yeah.
Right.
Now, once you put something in writing and you say you gotta bring
Yeah.
They might change, yeah.
I don't think so either.
I think the scope of work is not too detailed, which allows for flexibility, but I think it hits the points that are important to us, so.
Yeah, the fact that you need an experienced, person coming in there and it lays out, it dictates exactly that what we don't want a startup business going in there and so on and so forth.
If we're comfortable going to just legal review, sending it to Ally for review to make sure that all the technical aspects are appropriate. A lot of these, like, again, if we want to continue to review the project criteria and the weights, I mean, those are qualitative elements that can be adjusted. They're not necessarily tied to the terms and conditions in the proposal. I think that's something that we can continue to change. But yeah, if you're okay with me sending it to Ally, official legal review to get basically a final draft ready for adoption by our next meeting.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Anybody have any issues with that? We're
No.
all good with it?
Yeah,
Then I
let's do
would
that.
suggest that you do just that.
All right.
Does that work for you, Ally? Okay,
Thanks, Philip.
thank you very
Sorry-
much.
sorry I didn't have-
All righty. Very good. I was just looking for my first page. Thank you. You throw me all off here. All righty. This is our second public business, our public comment period. For anybody who wishes to speak about anything that's either on the agenda or not on the agenda. Seeing none, do we have any staff comments? Any board comments?
And I went and spoke with the new old Tyrone Rotary last week,
Oh,
and they're getting off the ground. They meet at the Way of Life right now.
are they still Daybreak?
No, they're Tyrone Rotary, and that's why I wanted to
Oh.
bring it up. I mentioned our First Fridays.
Right?
They might piggyback some of their events. They used to do the dog walk and, a lot of stuff with the community as the Daybreak. So hopefully they'll be one of our vendors or, have a tent there. They did request a sign, but that's going to be more of a town council meeting type thing. But it's always nice, I feel like, as the downtown development, showing that we do have civic clubs that are involved in our community. Kind of means a lot to the businesses that come around. So if there is a way for us to have a sign that says Rotary meets here, in Tyrone, they usually have a time, 12 o'clock, and
Where
it's
do
noon
they meet?
At Way Life.
Oh, okay.
And it's, as of now, and they meet at noon. I want to say it was Wednesday. Can't remember what day it was, either Thursday or Wednesday. And, but they did say it's a great organization. It's an international organization, but they do local projects. And a lot of times it might be something that we can piggyback with them because they get grant money as well. So
Yep.
if we have something we want to do, whether it's improving downtown in some way, we might be able to, go work a project together. So
Very
it's-
good.
It's an option. They will probably show up at one of our meetings or the council meetings to talk about their sign. Other than that, it's great, and it's always nice to go visit and see usually the business folks of the town.
Carol still involved?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
That's who invited me.
Very, very good. Anybody else have anything to say? Thoughts? Right?
Really just waiting on a little more feedback on that, but I'd like to, I get Leanne to come and sit in on a meeting or something, or I'd just like to introduce her and see if there's anything she can do to help.
Was it screen printing as well?
She does that too, yes. Her main thing has always been embroidery, and she does screen printing for her embroidery customers.
That was just a lot on the back of those.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Wow.
lot to
Yeah,
embroider.
yeah, wow.
She does both, but, and if there's someone the town is already using, that's fine too. She's just, really hands-on. She'll bring samples and make you try them on before she'll sell them to you.
Appropriate if, she probably just have a meeting individually. Regarding any designs, Jenny, I know you mentioned you free, whatever kind of designs. Yeah, some of it would require screen printing.
Yeah.
You still plan on keeping our downtown Tyrone logo, correct?
I think that is not, I love our logo.
Okay, good. Yeah.
If she wants to meet with, probably it'd be good for her.
Yeah.
Other thoughts? Okay. No need for executive session, I assume? Okay. That being the case, someone want to make a motion to adjourn? We have a motion. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Is Tika the president?
Did you guys have anything? I'm sorry again. Did you guys want to add anything?
From Africa? Yeah. His son worked for me.
Excuse me just one second, if we can, go ahead while you're here and you got us before we run, I'm sorry.